All right. Hello, 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 hello. How's everybody doing? Today we're going to talk about ETC price predictions and pretty much just take questions from the community. And it's good to show up whether the coin is up or down, and still talk about the project. So I'm here today with Peter and Donald. And Peter, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure, what's going on? I'm Peter Cordy. I have a YouTube channel. You should check it out. I actually just spoke about the price outlook for Ethereum Classic on there. So yeah, expect more videos like that.
That was a very good video.
Thanks.
I'm Donald McIntyre, founder of Etherplan. You can see it on etherplan.com and also the Etherplan channel on YouTube. It's mainly about Ethereum Classic.
All right, so guys, if you are new here, please do us a favor, like the video, share it, comment your questions, whatever you have, and let's get right to it. So what is it looking like? Are we going to be able to keep up with our end of year target? What do you guys think?
Donald, why don't you go first since you have the target?
Bueno, the history of my targets were started in 2009 when I started to do the analogy of Bitcoin and gold based on what many people were doing in the market, and then with my hypothesis that each layer in the blockchain industry is going to have few very big winners, no, 1, 2, 3, or 4 big blockchains at the base layer, 3 or 4 big systems in layer 2, which are going to be proof of stake systems, and so on, layer 3, layer 4. So at that time, I calculated that Bitcoin was going to be worth something like, let's say, hundreds of thousands of dollars when it reached the value. At that time, 50% the value of gold. And because of how economics and industries work, usually, especially in systems that have network effects, you have a very big one, and then the second one is significantly lower, like 50%. Then the third one is 1/2 of the second one, and like that, you all the rest turn very insignificant. No, so I thought that because Ethereum Classic it was going to be this huge proof of work, fixed monetary policy, smart contracts blockchain at the base layer, that it was going to be 50% of Bitcoin. So my projections at that time were like $4,500 per ETC in 10 years. Then I refined my projection. In 2020, it was $7,000 in 10 years because I adjusted the value of gold for inflation in the future and stuff like that. And then this year, with this year's cycle, I decided to do something much more refined and more exact. So that's where I published in May my last set of predictions, which are with gold at the current level, projecting from the past to the future, adjusting for inflation, and adjusting also the price of Bitcoin for its monetary supply. Instead of using the 21 million, I just use the exact monetary supply at each time, and the same thing for Ethereum Classic. And the other thing adjustment that I did is instead of being so conservative and thinking that Bitcoin was going to be only 50% of the value of gold in the future, now I'm using that Bitcoin is going to be 100% of the value of gold. So that raised my price targets. I totally believe in the fundamentals, and I see that everything is happening according to that thesis that I recommend people to Google it or go to etherplan.com to read it. It's at the top, a sticky post at the top. And so the resulting price targets are 33,000 for ETC in 2029, 8,700 in 2025, and in 2021, because we still have 3 months left, which is like 30 years in the blockchain time. I think that the ETC is going to go to 1,000 by the end of this year.
You're muted, I think.
It's my bad. So yes, I tried to get Alex Tankov on last minute, a few hours before the show. I probably should have contacted him earlier because I wanted him to also come and talk about his prediction after a possible SHA-3 implementation. And he believes that from a few of his tweets, he believes that it's going to really explode after that. And so I'm quite excited for that as well. All right. So personally, I think that ETC, the main thing that's going to make ETC do very well is the fact that eventually it's going to be one of the few proof of work coins that can handle smart contracts. Right now, proof of stake is kind of like the wave. Most projects are trying to make sure they, just because of certain things like scalability, and also in the future, if the governments try to come down hard on proof of work coins and stuff like that, projects are trying to avoid such pits. But then proof of work has the best security out there, and I think there'll be a time when, after ETH has gone fully proof of stake, ETC can go up and take this spot and become the next big thing. So I believe that's where the value is going to come from. And usually before coins blow up, there is this stale trading. It's like they trade sideways for a while, which is usually they are just accumulating. It's just like stocks, and it takes a while for them to accumulate enough to shoot up. So again, this is the time it accumulates. This one you should also be accumulating. Do not wait until you see it above $160 and then you're asking me, should I buy more? No, don't do that. So okay, Peter, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, so to directly answer your question, should we be worried about hitting our price targets by the end of the year? To put this into perspective, last bull cycle, Bitcoin fell from over $5,000 to under $3,000 just in the month of September. I believe from September 1st to September 22nd, before obviously rallying to $20,000 later that year. So I'm not worried at all. This is just how the market works. I don't have a dogmatic price prediction, though. But I do think it's a good idea to have some inclination about where the market is headed and when it's heading there. And looking at the short to medium term future, I'm operating under a few simple assumptions. So I'd argue it's safe to assume that this bull cycle is not over. The major cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic will reach new all-time highs. And before this cycle ends, there will be a blow-off top where the price shoots up unsustainably before correcting. And I think we're all in agreement about that. So operating under those assumptions, there are a number of ways we can look at this. So we can look at the price ratio between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic to see that ETC historically trades around 1/29th the price of Ethereum. So if Ethereum Classic regains just that ratio, when Ethereum hits $10,000, ETC should be trading at $344. But if you think ETC is going to gain ground on Ethereum, you can change that ratio, factoring in the same Ethereum price targets, and you'll get a much more bullish price target for ETC. So, for example, if you think Ethereum Classic will be 1/10 the price of Ethereum instead of 1/29th, then when Ethereum reaches $10,000, ETC is looking at $1,000. And who's to say Ethereum doesn't, hit $15,000 to $20,000 instead of $10,000? Then there's also a number of Fibonacci extension targets, which accurately predict future support and resistance, which fall within this range, but I won't get into that here. Donald, and you also have a great case to be made based on market positioning for ETC to reach $1,000 this cycle. We can also look at the price of Ethereum last market cycle when it went from $7,000 to $1,400. ETC in 2021 is fundamentally far superior to Ethereum in 2017, no matter how you look at it. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to mirror Ethereum and climb to $1,400, or mirror Ethereum by at least rising by a multiple of 200 from $3 at our bottom this cycle to $600 at the top. There are so many other ways to look at this, and a bunch of people in the comments section of my video gave a number of other perspectives and predictions, some more bearish and some more bullish, but I'm definitely more on the bullish side. I'm very optimistic about this coin, this cycle.
I just, if you let me comment, Telorm, I thought that video by Peter was very good, because you have many different viewpoints. This approach of having different calculations from different viewpoints, and they all give you very high numbers. No, the low number is 340, and then from there you go to 1,000, and you can even project higher. I think that 1,000 is like at this point a moderate projection for ETC. And also what you mentioned there in the video, Peter, is this concept that Bitcoin is going to go. I am very sure in this cycle, because everything is laid out for that, including that the Federal Reserve printed $720 billion of new money in the last 6 months, and the market has been flat. So that money is going to start circulating, in my opinion, with more velocity, and is going to go to buy different assets, and a portion of that is going to be crypto. So I think that Bitcoin is going to go easily to 125, which was my target, or higher. And like you said, Ethereum to 10,000 or higher. And I think also that Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and Doge are going to follow, just like ETC, just with following those multiples. But at that time, because it coincides with the fact that Ethereum is going to move to proof of stake, then Ethereum Classic is going to be, if you look at the list of proof of work chains, you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Doge, and ETC. And if you remove Ethereum, you're going to have Bitcoin, BCH, LTC, Doge, and Ethereum Classic. And Ethereum Classic is the only one that is much more useful than the others, because it's programmable, it's digital gold, etc. So I think it's going to climb to be very close to Bitcoin, and that's the second vector that I see, that may take ETC from 300 or 400 to 1,000 when it climbs above those other coins.
Yep. So yes, I think right now the only I'm not going to call it hurdle, because for me it's a good thing. I like it staying around these levels for a while. It gives me time to accumulate, like I've said. And some people sent me a bunch of messages the other day when I tweeted about some other coins in addition to ETC. The fact that we all talk about ETC a lot doesn't mean that I don't know about Donald, but I don't think we're all 100% in just ETC, right? It's like the crypto space has a lot to offer, and it's good to learn as much as you can. And recently I made a move. I got into this coin. I don't know if I should mention the name, but I got into Avalanche quite early, and I was up several 100%. And I liquidated 80% of all of it 2 days ago to get ETC. And my friends thought I was crazy, right? And I'm like, I know what I'm doing. What's gonna happen is that eventually, when all these proof of stake coins pop up, and they can pop up very easily, right? There'll be a lot of them, and there will be some security issues in the future, which will not be easy to solve. But then they'll all come back and realize that the best base for a smart contract will be a proof of work coin, and ETC will be right there, very cheap, waiting for such opportunity. Maybe banking, the stuff that needs very secure stuff. And I'm talking, this could be 4 or 5 years down the line, right? But it's going to take a lot of things to happen. But by then we will be seated there, comfortable, waiting for everyone to come and start, buying. So that you got to have a strategy somehow, because the market is going up and down. And, if you want to play around with some stuff, but make sure you consistently accumulate your favorite coins.
In my case, I only have ETC, but of course that I am an extreme case, because I am so into ETC, researching it, and for so many years. But and I see exactly the opportunity that you say, that is going to be this proof of work smart contracts blockchain at the base layer, unique, only one. high in the ranks. No, there's others, but much lower in the ranks. So of the big ones, it has this incredibly valuable position that is being occupied by Ethereum for now, but Ethereum is moving away. But of course, to be diversified is excellent. Layer 2 blockchains like Ethereum 2 and Cardano, Dot, Polkadot, etc. They're all viable alternatives. There's going to be a big one. I think it's going to be Ethereum 2. And then the others are going to be smaller. But if you can capture value by trading those and then moving back to ETC and Bitcoin, for example, I think it's a very smart idea. The thing is that when you trade, you also lose a lot of money. That was a great trade by you, but you must also have an experience of losing money. So in general, for the general public who are not on top of the market like us, and even for people like me, I just only have buy and hold ETC and nothing else. I always say just to buy and hold and let it go for the long term.
Awesome. Tom, thank you very much for the super chat. I don't know if you're the one who has the $2 million in Doge, or I'm not sure if you're the one, but if you're still holding it, diamond hands to you. All right. Let's see. Oh, yes. And Harmony popped up. Harmony claims they are already what ETH 2.0 wants to be. So we'll see how all that pans out. And they just successfully got a bridge to BTC. So you can read about that yourself.
There's something interesting. I don't know. Can I say something about that?
Go ahead.
Harmony comment. These blockchains that claim to have what Ethereum 2 will have, so they're earlier, or that they have even better technology because they have different gadgets like ICP or Sol, because they have hardware and software together and they have a decentralized timestamp system that permits more blocks, etc. It doesn't matter much. To be able to beat Ethereum 2, you really have to have an incredibly huge advantage. Network effects are hundreds of times more powerful than a little glitch in your technology or being 2 months earlier. Nothing of that is going to make not even Cardano or Dota better than Ethereum 2. Ethereum 2 has the network effects. All the dApps are there. DeFi, they're inventing the future of finance, and it's going to be there. All the rest is speculation.
All right. Thank you, Donald. All right. Yes. So for me, a coin like Harmony, when I got involved in it, even way before I even learned about the intricacies of proof of work, proof of stake, I just studied the team, and I realized that Stephen Tse, who was in charge, had done a lot. In fact, Apple even bought a search engine that he wrote, and he worked for Google before that. So just from his experience, I thought maybe he can come up with something good someday. But as I'm learning every day, I can go back and reassess stuff.
There's certainly a lot of speculation. I mean, it's incredible in the last month or two that from Avalanche, that was very low in the ranks, to all, Tezos, even Tron, they're all going up. So like you said, there's a strong, trend currently of people investing and the format war in the layer 2 proof of stake blockchain space is very interesting.
Well, since you mentioned Tron, I'm going to make a quick comment on Tron. So for some reason, again, just like I researched the team, coin like I do not like a coin like Tron just because of Justin Sun. If you've been in crypto for a few years, you know that he's not been always very straightforward. And so personally, I just do not like him. It could be a really great project, but it's just one of the coins that I avoid. So, yeah. All right. So the big elephant in the room is the Treasury. I didn't want to talk about it, but I feel like we should just touch on it just a little bit. From what ETC Cooperative said earlier, do you have any comments, Peter?
Yeah, so I'm actually, I believe this week, right, Donald, we're going to be going live with Bob Somerville, the executive director at ETC Cooperative, on my channel to discuss ETC Cooperative's decision to withdraw their support for ECIP 1098, which is IOHK's proto-treasury proposal, as well as whether or not a future limited treasury is viable. I'm really interested, though, in Charles Hoskinson's response to this withdrawal of support, as he gave the ecosystem an ultimatum on the subject, namely that either ETC adopts his treasury or he leaves. Again, technically, this proposal isn't dead, but pretty much the entire community is against it. So there seems to be no road for approval for ECIP 1098 from where I'm sitting, but I could be wrong on that. On our last ETC talk a month ago, we had Mantis IOHK's Stevan Loha on to discuss the treasury, and he agreed, if you guys remember, to debate Donald at a future date. Interestingly, he declined to represent IOHK in this discussion with Bob and Donald, so I'm sure Charles doesn't want anyone speaking for him or on his behalf for the time being. So I'm paying close attention to what's said at the Cardano summit and immediately after, because that's when I'm expecting to hear Charles's reaction and plan for the future. But I've obviously made it clear that I'm personally against any form of treasury for Ethereum Classic. But if you want to learn more about the anti-treasury position, check out etherplan.com's articles on it, as well as ethereumclassicclassic.org. That's ethereumclassicclassic.org for the best refutation on the treasury. And Donald has done a number of interviews on it, including on my channel.
Yeah, the ethereumclassicclassic.org website is a must read for anybody who's interested in the topic of the treasury. It's Ethereum Classic Classic. You repeat classic.org. So I recommend. I think good idea, Peter. I think the interesting thing that Bob, Peter, and I are going to talk later in the week after IOHK or Charles explain what is going to be their position, or if they're going to explain the new version of the treasury that we are expecting that they were going to present. Maybe they adjust it to something that is more acceptable. Although I am with Peter, for me, any version of a treasury is not acceptable. But the current three ideas are: one, the one that IOHK has there presented like 13 months ago, which is a 20% tax and perpetual, forever, and that would be billions of dollars, and that is what I think that made Bob not support it. So I think he's going to explain that at the end of the week. The second was actually an idea that I had, was to do something more controlled, which was to limit it for 5 years. And then after that, I had the idea of lowering the tax from 20% to 5%, something like that. I migrated then now to the third position, which is what Peter and I are saying, which is, at this point, we think that no treasury is the best idea. And the best explanation of that is there at ethereumclassicclassic.org.
Okay, interesting. So I read ETC Cooperative's explanation for the withdrawal, and the one thing that I didn't fully understand was the sweeping mechanism that they spoke about, saying that there was there could be unlimited profit for the client teams. Any of you fully understand that?
Mm-hmm. Peter, you?
Yeah, so it seems like pretty much what Donald has been saying this whole time about IOHK is one of their motivations is greed, and this sweeping mechanism would kind of limit the amount of profit that these development teams can make off of this treasury. And kind of keep things rolled over for future use for grants and whatnot. If I understand that correctly, it seems to be a common sense position that if there's going to be a treasury, there should be some sweeping mechanism where these excess funds are rolled over. And I just don't know why. I'm going to ask Bob what he thinks, and I'm sure he won't be able to give a very honest answer. But I will, see if he'll be honest and ask him why he thinks IOHK is not okay with that. Because to your average viewer, to the average person looking on, it sounds a lot like greed.
I think that the sweeping intuitively, I think Bob is going to explain it when we have this interview later in the week. But I think the sweeping mechanism was something like each team would get around $3 million a year. because that's what the cost of a team. Many people have said that's more or less a full team would cost that, and we wanted to have 3, so it would be $3 million to each team. And I think that any excess funds aside from that would go to a different destination, no? That Bob is going to explain. I think it was grants. So apparently Charles Hoskinson and IOHK wanted whatever amount of money went to them. They wanted to accept the whole amount, even though it overpaid for a normal team, no? So we'll see what they explain.
Okay, Dollar Bill. Yes, we did invite him. In fact, he was part of the planning team, but last minute he had to withdraw, as well as Callum from Financial Journey. They had to withdraw last minute, so they'll be with us next time. So don't worry about that. Okay, so just to be clear, I personally want some form of treasury. I'm totally for some form of treasury, but it has to be controlled and not, one person bullying everybody else around. The reason why I think the treasury is important is that technology is changing fast, and if ETC were just a store of value and not a programmable project, it will be okay to not get a treasury, just stay as we are and just be a store of value. But as technology is changing and people are going to be coming on with smart contracts, and will need to be able to keep up with the pace. And for example, Greystone, the contract with Greystone funding ETC Cooperative is going to expire, I think, April 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's certain where they're going to be getting funding from and stuff like that. But if we have a treasury in place, then we don't have to rely on any fund or anyone else, and ETC can pretty much fund its development to be able to keep up with the rest of the world. That's just a personal opinion.
Good.
All right. Any questions in here that you guys want to answer?
I'm not seeing the questions because I'm
here. Oh, you can't see them. Okay.
StreamYard app. But SHA-3, I think, would be interesting to talk about if you want.
Yes, go ahead.
I see here EIP 3555 to exponentially increase mining difficulty on ETH this winter. Ethereum Classic welcomes miners. It's an announcement. Yes, Ethereum Classic welcomes miners, and this is related to SHA-3. Do you want to talk about SHA-3?
I can say a little bit about it. So right now, Bitcoin's algorithm is SHA-2, and SHA-3 is a much newer, much better, much more secure algorithm. And if ETC is able to implement SHA-3, what's going to happen is that we will go from the project that everybody's scared of being hacked to this most secure project out there. And it's going to entice, banking, payment systems, more DeFi projects that need to rely on security to come to ETC, because again, proof of work is still more secure than proof of stake, and ETC is going to have that spot. So it's going to be a very unique spot to be the only one who is proof of work running SHA-3, and it's going to be such a unique position that a big players will come there, and it's going to happen like so quick. We are going to go from like 1,000 to 9,000 so quick if that does happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have anything else to add?
What's going on with SHA-3, I think what you said is exactly that. One of the things that attracts me the most of migrating to SHA-3 is that it's generally approved technology by all international bodies, etc., that regulate these things, because banks and corporations and multinationals, they cannot use whatever technology they just invent over there. And currently ETC, like Ethereum, they have ETH hash in the case of Ethereum, ETC hash in the case of ETC, and it works fine. But SHA-3 is such a generic and pure technology that which is analogous to SHA-256, which is it's the next version of SHA-256, which is the function that Bitcoin uses for proof of work. That is going to be much more accessible and easier to adopt by enterprise and banks and all that. So that's one of the things. The thing is that they're inside the Ethereum Classic community. There's I would say like three groups. One is the group like Alex and Bob. No, Bob, in that case, we are on the same side, and me, that we all think that we should migrate to SHA-3 for all the reasons that you said and these other reasons. There's another group that says that SHA-3 to migrate from the current algorithm and to SHA-3 would basically change the nature of Ethereum Classic, and it would violate immutability. They think that not only money, the monetary policy, money, property, and agreements are the social contract of ETC, but also the mining algorithm, because miners have come to invest in ETC and to work on ETC based on those rules. And if we change the rules, it's like arbitrarily changing a key parameter that should be subject or within the immutability philosophy. I don't agree, because I think that every component of the technology of ETC has to always be the best and most secure one, no, at any time. And eventually we should change. The third group says that it's ridiculous to change to SHA-3, to SHA-3, not only because they don't like it and they prefer to have GPUs and the little miners from home being able to mine, but to migrate exactly when Ethereum is going away and all those miners with their GPUs are going to be free to come to ETC, and we move away from that would be a bad strategic move. And I think that they have a point there. So I think that for several months, or at least until after Ethereum migrates to proof of stake, I think ETC is going to stay with GPU mining.
Interesting. Somebody has a question here. EV says, since ETC is slow when it comes to getting things done, couldn't another project theoretically implement SHA-3 first? Would love to get your thoughts on this.
Do you want me to talk about that?
Yep.
There's this myth that ETC is slow, as if it were a flaw. No, there's a big mistake in the blockchain industry, and that is that the blockchain industries like robotics or space technology or I don't know, artificial intelligence, machine learning, that you have to be at the cutting edge of technology, and if you're not, then and you don't do many upgrades and forks, then that means that you are a bad product or something like that. That is exactly wrong, and the opposite is right. Bitcoin, which is the most secure and the largest blockchain, the oldest and the best managed blockchain in the industry, is very slow on purpose, because you cannot go. Even Bitcoin, when it was launched, it had already very mature and proven technologies, all the ones that were put together to create Bitcoin. So you cannot go adopting new technologies or making up new technologies like Ethereum does or Cardano does, unproven, and playing with the money of people, the property and agreements of people inside blockchains. The priority is money, property, and agreements, and that has to be preserved and immutable for hundreds of years. So it doesn't matter how long you take to adopt a new technology. You have to make sure that it is as secure as possible and mature enough to be sure that you can import it. This is like a flying airplane, and you cannot change technology in the middle of the flight, and then it doesn't work because it has a bug or because the theory was wrong and everybody dies. No? And the same thing goes for a blockchain. A blockchain has to be as secure as the most secure technologies ever created in the world. Why? Because the center and the core of the goal is to be trust minimized and to protect the people of the world, the 8 billion people of the world, their money, their sound money, their value, their property, and their agreements. Whether a technology is adopted this year or in 3 years is inconsequential. So that I want to say that, because many people are saying ETC is low, ETC is low. It's another myth. Slow is good, fast is bad in the blockchain industry. In terms of someone could adopt a SHA-3 before ETC, maybe. What I see in the proof of work space, everything is pretty stable. So I don't see anybody that is any big blockchain in the proof of work segment or the base layer that is studying any changes or anything like that. So it is possible, but I don't think it's a imminent threat.
Can I get a couple words in on SHA-3 real quick?
Go ahead.
Sure. So just on the security of ETC, right now we're pretty secure, actually very secure from attacks because of unideal things like MES and ETC hash. But SHA-3 will eventually improve on this and replace these things. They aren't long-term necessary in our roadmap. So Ethereum Classic, like you said, is designed for institutional and not so much retail transactions over the long term. So transactions of low volume and high value. So SHA-3 is going to help facilitate this institutional adoption because it makes it all that much more secure. There's obviously the multiple factions within ETC who argue for and against this. Some argue that ASIC mining, which is what this is going to bring about very much, is only for the rich because there's such a high barrier of entry in the hardware and energy costs. But the goal of ETC the goal for coding on ETC is to make it more secure, not to make one group of miners more money. So I don't think it really matters so much if the GPU miners are going to be losing out because they can always just move to another coin. A lot of them are favoring Raven coin. But I think the boost that we're going to get after Ethereum moves to 2.0 is, like Donald said, another reason why we might want to wait a little while after that, because I think that will increase the price of ETC. And we don't really need SHA-3 right now because we are currently protected. But over the long term, with more adoption, I think it's imperative before next market cycle to get this done.
I agree with that. Also, I wanted to say this thing about the speed of the change of technology. Attached to that concept that ETC is slow, which is wrong because being slow is good. But also ETC is not that slow because a few months after each upgrade that Ethereum has done, ETC has done the upgrades, and ETC today is up to date with Ethereum. We are the developers of Hyperledger Besu, Mantis, and Core Geth are already planning and working on the details of a hard fork that is called Mystique, that is going to do just add the latest opcodes of the London upgrade of Ethereum. So ETC is going to integrate even the latest London upgrade by Ethereum, except the time bomb, because ETC doesn't have a time bomb anymore like Ethereum does, and it's not going to do the EIP 1559, which is burning fees, and they changed the fee model a little bit. And ETC is going to stay with the same fee model as before and only integrate the opcodes that were changed for the EVM. This is very important. The Ethereum Classic and Ethereum 1 and Ethereum 2 and Cardano and DOT and all those, we are all part of a higher standard, which is called the Ethereum Virtual Machine Standard. So this technology is open source. Everybody is sharing the knowledge of new changes, etc. And not only Ethereum Classic and the others who follow the EVM standard. For example, Cardano was not there and now is going to the EVM standard. And Ethereum 2 is going to be EVM standard. Whatever invention any of the chains creates, opcodes or whatever, in the EVM or whatever section of the technology that is better, eventually a chain like ETC, just because we have to follow the standard, is going to adopt it. No, it's more or less like when you have Windows XP and Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 15. Eventually people go catching up. No, some go slower, other go faster, but everybody has to be within the Windows system or Linux or the other operating systems just to be part of the standard and be interacting with the world. No, So this is what happens with the EVM standard, and ETC is absolutely updated with Ethereum with that standard.
All right, so Mr. Dragon Crypto, I'm gonna answer your question real quick. So, what makes ETC better? What makes ETC better than just buying BTC? So ETC is literally programmable BTC. Okay, so it's eventually, when it has the security, or even better than BTC, and it's programmable, that means smart contract can live on it. It has a greater potential to grow. And right now, some things that are favoring us are some of the attacks that happened in the past. That is what has kept the price at a place where we will all not miss the boat. So that's why I would, if I were to put my money in one right now, put majority in ETC. Anybody else want to answer it differently?
I think that was an excellent answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's two ways to really look at it. And one way is the fundamental way of just the technology. It is literally programmable Bitcoin. But just to your average investor, why would you buy one over the other? Well, what's going to offer you the biggest return over the investment over, short to medium or long term? Bitcoin already has such a high market cap right now, and it will continue to do so. So you're going to get diminishing returns, whereas something with such high volume but such low market cap in comparison to Bitcoin and Ethereum, you're looking at multiples higher return on investment.
That's a good point.
He said if the price never moves, look, ETC was between like $6 and $8 for so long before it just moved to $180. So a price just has to accumulate. If we are just looking at day by day, week by week, you might end up chasing everything, and when it actually moves, you'll not be in it.
I'm going to share my screen. Speaking of that.
Okay. Hey Sanjay, how you doing? This guy right here is best at taking profits.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, I just added it.
Good. Just to comment on this, what you just said, yeah, it was here before. It was for a long time down here, even lower than 28. It was between, like you said, 6 and 10, 6 and 8, for 8 to 12 months, and then it jumped because it caught up with the rest of the industry. And this is the high. It was on May 5th, and then it made a low here on June 21st of 32. But I thought that in June 21 was the change of trend. This was for me the whole downtrend, and for me this was the middle of the cup, the typical cup that sometimes the markets do, and the cup was doing this, and then on this month in September 6th, it broke this cup pattern. So now it's accumulating again. So a lot. I was posting a lot on social media about my targets, and my very short term targets were like 77, 100, 180 were based on this cup here. But evidently it broke it. I thought it was going to catch up here very fast, but it didn't. So for now we continue to accumulate, and we're waiting for the market to break out again.
Yeah, that's the thing with technical analysis. It's never based on absolutes. It's always based on probabilities. You can have a bullish or a bearish pattern forming, and if let's say it's a bullish wedge, that is a bullish pattern, but there is, let's just say it's a 65-70% chance it breaks up. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it bullish. There's still that, let's say 35-30% chance it breaks down, and this is a perfect example right here, because this is a bullish pattern that in all likelihood was going to break up, but it broke down.
Interesting also to note is that this is on Twitter. Somebody posted this, which is the chart of 2013 of Bitcoin, and I wrote on top these things. So like Peter said, this in 2013, Bitcoin reached very fast in March 266, just like ETC reached 180 in May, no? And then it immediately corrected to 50, so it crashed enormously here. And then the accumulation, the cup, and the whole process continued. And this was in this point here, which was the low of this point of the cup, was 80% lower than 266. And then it went up, and then look what it did. It also corrected enormously in September, October of that year in 2013, a 33% correction, which is must be similar to what's happening now in the market. No, in September it crashed instead of continuing the cup, the formation, and it crashed, and it did what Peter said. No, that probability of not continuing this cup occurred here, so it would have maybe exploded higher here, but instead it just waited a few more weeks and exploded higher later. No, and this I believe is end of November of December when Bitcoin went to 1250 in 2013. So it went from this cup where we are more or less at 50 to 1250. So this is the analogy that I do with ETC. I think ETC is like BTC in 2013.
Okay, so exact date for ETH 2. Somebody wants to know. You guys know the exact date?
The last I heard was Vitalik said by the end of this year or the first part of next year. Those were his words in an interview, but I don't know if they have announced if they have done any new announcements.
And that obviously plays a role in Ethereum Classic, because we are obviously expecting a boost in hash rate at the very least, and also possibly in price when those Ethereum miners switch over to ETC, as many of them have announced they will do on Twitter and other platforms.
Clinton, you know what? I partially agree with you, Clinton. But I don't use the word impossible. Okay. From analysis I did a few weeks ago, I could see that if the bull market comes, and for the past 3 years, getting to the end of the year, crypto has been rallying from November, and things go really. It could hit 300 if there's another nice bull from my analysis. But then again, if some other things happen, then the 1,000, like Donald is saying, could be a possibility. So scrap the word impossible when you're talking about crypto. Things happen.
Yeah, if you've ever seen a blow off top before, it just defies logic. You really have no idea. You can't time it, because ETC could be $800, and you could be thinking, oh gosh, I should just sell right now. Tomorrow, Donald could be wrong. It could be $3,000, and we could be thinking, oh my God, why did I sell at 800? It just defies all logic. But it could also come up shorter than you expected too. There's nothing mathematical. There's no way you can actually mathematically predict the very top of the bull cycle. So you can only take educated guesses.
Yeah. Regarding the blow off top, I think that although we were using the cycles of Bitcoin and the cycles of crypto in general every 4 years as the to guide us, it is due for a blow off top this year. But I think that this time it's going to be a blow off top and then correct, but it's not going to crash 90%. I think it's going to stay higher. I think that Bitcoin after the top is going to stay at around 100,000 or higher, and ETC may go to 1,000 and like you say 3,000 and then crash to 500, but then it's going to stabilize around 1,000. And the same with the others. Now they're all going to stay in another higher level, because there are underlying things happening that are real, no? Like hundreds of millions of people adopting crypto in general. For example, my kids in Buenos Aires in Argentina, they have wallets. I send them money in crypto and Bitcoin and ETC. They are saving in crypto. They know Tether. They use Binance. All their friends use Binance. This is a global phenomenon, and younger people, my kids are from 23 to 26. Everybody is now it's like a few years ago, things were mobile first. When young kids now are crypto first. They're not saving in normal banks. For them, to open an account in JP Morgan is like something for boomers only. For them, having money is downloading Venmo or now Exodus, for example, or Cash App here in the United States. That's where everything is going. So this and remember that millennials and Zoomers are going to inherit trillions of dollars from boomers in the next 10 to 20 years. And they're going to continue migrating. And not only that, but central banks continue printing and printing and printing. So the blow off top, I think, is going to happen. And then it's not going to crash 90%. I think it's going to happen and then and stay somewhere in the middle, higher than the past cycles, I think. I was going to say something else regarding that, but I forgot.
I think that I think you're right. I don't think it's going to be nearly as severe of a crash as we're used to, because now we have this institutional money invested in Bitcoin. And let's be honest, there's market manipulation involved. Will the manipulators allow it to fall to a certain level? I don't think so. Or perhaps maybe to buy more, to buy in more. But I think this current market formation will hold as structural support for the bottom of the next bear market. That is my my personal. That's the way I'm trading this. Mm-hmm. So I think we may get one, maybe, and this is just not a guarantee, but we at the current prices we may get just one more opportunity. Just as a wick down, I think we hold a certain level of support. Let's say it's that $100,000 level. And I think we're going to have like a bloody Sunday where we just absolutely capitulate at the end of the next bear cycle. And I think where we find the bottom of that capitulation will be found somewhere in our structural support and resistance that we're finding on this very pattern we're in right now. Mm-hmm. And you'll see that similar to the 2013 bull cycle, where it kind of held as structural support resistance and also held as a platform to moon all the way up to over $1,200.
Yeah, it did. It did in 2013.
At similar price points.
It's funny because now many people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to buy ETC when it crashes to 33," but the future 33 is going to be 50 or 60. When it crashes to 60, I'm going to buy.
All right. While we're talking about, the acceptance of crypto and all that, recently I saw Texas, state of Texas is finally open to crypto. And I'm quite excited about that. I need Binance to unblock me so I can trade on there. I have coins on there. They don't allow me to trade anymore since they figured out that I live in Texas. But they allow me to withdraw. But I just left my coins on there. And And also businesses are going to, Texas has a lot of land, and a lot of crypto-backed businesses have been avoiding Texas for years. And as of last week, they are open to it. And so it's going to just grow. Right. What else do we have?
That's amazing. All this thing that is happening in governments, where you have some governments adopting crypto, like you mentioned now, Texas and El Salvador and other countries, even Cuba, legalizing crypto. And then other governments, the extremist China. No? And even here in the United States, we have politicians saying that Senator Warren is saying that Bitcoin should be shut down, and stuff like that. So it's very interesting how all these opinions are everywhere, and some people want absolute shutdown, others want strong regulations, others want freedom for people to innovate and to use these products. It's interesting because my kids, for example, they couldn't get Cash App, they could get Exodus as a wallet. So all this social layer and problems of regulation and legal systems, etc., they really affect how people around the world can use these things.
Yeah, it was. It seemed like Wyoming was the real Bitcoin capital of America for a while there. But if Texas is open for business, you have what? You have Austin, which is really progressive on technology. Dallas, Houston. There's so many different. San Antonio, so many different cities, so many different places in Texas. Often a lot of rural places with low energy cost. I'm sure there's a lot of places for development for Bitcoin, and I'm sure other blockchain companies too are gonna move in there. So yeah, very, very optimistic.
Yeah. Another thing that is happening is that everything that is happening at the enterprise level. In June of this year, I started to work in a consulting firm called BIwares, and my job is to go to multinationals and large corporations to sell our consulting services. And I have a focus on blockchain industry, so I'm giving courses to these companies. Many companies are starting from scratch. For example, a very large telecom company, I've been giving courses from the shareholders to the board to the top management, etc., because they are learning from scratch everything about Bitcoin and proof of work and all the spectrum, no, from the most secure to from the most secure, which is Bitcoin, to permission networks now, which can be Hyperledger and others, which are for enterprise. Others are very advanced, but within the enterprise permission level, I've spoken the other day to a multinational logistics company, and they have a full blockchain permissioned. All the nodes are permitted by them to participate, but in terms of the distribution of data and all that, is exactly like a blockchain. And they're using it to move containers from one point of the world to the other. It's very interesting, everything and the activity is incredible. But they're all more or less like in the 90s, because in the 90s, when the internet came, all the large media companies, they wanted to create these closed intranets, and for people to use those networks instead of using the internet, which was for them, it was this savage place where any information was there and people were going to be defrauded and lied to in the open internet. It was like the jungle, no? And so they created AOL, CompuServe, and other closed systems, and of course they failed. So now I see that enterprise are in that. We have the extreme where you have Bitcoin, very, very secure, and then enterprise doing these totally closed blockchains. But I see that everything is going to meet at some point, and there's going to be a very interesting mix of systems and components in the industry.
Interesting. Almost Shango. Thank you, guys. Smash the like button. All right. Let's see. Any other question? Mr. Dragon had a question earlier. I don't know if anybody answered this. He's one of my mods. He's been doing a great job keeping the comments going. More projects are decoupling from Bitcoin, further decentralizing the space. Is being unique better or being in the same space as the rest? What do you guys think?
I think there's something to be said for, and I can't speak for all projects, but I know that a lot of projects, I mean, think about it. How many cryptocurrencies are there? Literally thousands. Some cryptocurrencies, if not most cryptocurrencies, are solutions looking for a problem. Whereas you have cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic, which are solving real world problems like trust minimization, smart contracts, all these things. And like Donald said earlier, a lot of these, they're literally just the same thing as, let's say, Ethereum, but maybe just a little bit faster. Or Litecoin is like the same thing as Bitcoin, but a little bit faster. Is it going to replace Bitcoin? No, it needs a really big advantage over Bitcoin. Or these other ones like Solana, for example, would need a really big advantage over Ethereum to be the Ethereum killer or the Bitcoin killer. So I think that the layered industry stack that Donald talks about, and it's not just him, there's actually a lot of people, even Bitcoin maximalists, who say the same thing. At the very base layer, you're going to have Bitcoin and then some other winners. Then you have that's your most secure layer. Then you have your proof of stake chains like Ethereum 2.0, maybe Cardano, Solana, Polkadot, whatever you name it. Then you have some other stuff on top of that, exchanges, wallets, dApps. But at the end of the day, you actually have to have a problem to solve and not just trying to, hey, let's do this a little bit different. It's not going to be viable because there's already billions of dollars in this industry already. It's not going to move over from one project to the other like that.
Yeah.
Clinton says he's Nigerian, and despite their country banning cryptocurrency, they still have more money in crypto than any other country. In fact, my college roommate is Nigerian, Adilani, and we've been. I mean, he's been in crypto for years now. He has a ton of Ethereum, Bitcoin. He hasn't sold a single one, and it's appreciating much better than the currency over there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's amazing. I'm so happy that this year, the ETC community also experienced this like a expansion of diversity of people. Um, I interact with many people on social media from Africa, and the case of Nigeria is excellent. It's similar to China, no? Because in China, this week in Nigeria, they prohibited, they banned cryptocurrency, but you can see the activity in the maps, and you see that Nigeria, and in the rankings, Nigeria is like he said, one of the biggest in the world in terms of transfers and use of Bitcoin for daily use. And something similar happens in China. When you see the map of nodes of proof of work blockchains, you still see nodes in China, even though they have been progressively banning it. I thought that it was completely banned, but there was a news for me this week that they still hadn't banned it completely, but now it's totally banned. No, nobody can have crypto or move crypto, or banks cannot deal with crypto anymore. But you have still ETC nodes in China. That's what I saw the other day in the map. So this technology is very powerful because that happens. No, you governments on the social layer can ban it, but the technology doesn't care, continues working. As long as someone has an internet connection and a little computer, they can put a node and continue sending transactions and check their balances, etc. And the case of Afghanistan was incredible. I mean, for me, it was like tragic and happy, no, at the same time, sad and happy, because on one side, when the United States withdrew, also the banking system was closed, and American multinationals like Western Union stopped sending money from. So here in Colorado, there was one guy in TV. He was an Afghan trying to send money to his family in this tragic moment for the country and taking over by the Taliban, and he couldn't because all the systems were shut down. But the activity of Bitcoin in Afghanistan went up. Why? Because 69% of the people have phones. So they were learning very fast to use Bitcoin, and now a lot of people in Afghanistan use Bitcoin. So it's really like Peter commented in one video that I had said, and I really believe it. This is really about basic rights on a global level. These ridiculous prohibitions and capital controls. My kids, for example, in Argentina, they live in a regime of capital controls. No, they cannot buy dollars. They're prohibited by the government and stuff like that. So they cannot save in anything. So all the kids of their age are using crypto and Tether instead of buying dollars, which is 1-to-1 to the dollar. So no, I think it's very powerful. This thing that is happening in the case of Nigeria is incredible.
All right, interesting stuff. I think we should be wrapping it up. There's so much to say, guys. Those of you who have been on my channel for a while, I'm coming back. I'm coming back strong, I promise. I'm slowly climbing out of my hole. So I'll be back, and I'll try and be going live twice a week. So I'm coming back, and we'll talk about a lot of other stuff. Okay, let's see if we have any last questions here before we wrap up for today.
This last comment that you see from Omo Shango, he says, "I'm stunned at how many people in high places, positions of the business world just don't hop on ETC." There's I think there's one big reason. One is that when Ethereum and Ethereum Classic were one chain, it was one huge innovation. Everybody was talking about it. This was 2016, and then they had the DAO crisis that you can Google and see what it is. And there is that Ethereum decided to go their way, and they forked the chain, and Ethereum Classic continued. as this immutable chain since the beginning. No, ETC is the original chain, immutable since the beginning. And Ethereum forked away because they returned money to people, etc. They violated immutability in 2016. But the thing is that the Ethereum Foundation, with all their money, etc., and all the developers, they went with that chain. So they have made all the noise all the time. And Vitalik, the leader of the project, also is very powerful in the industry. So everybody has been talking about Ethereum. So Ethereum Classic remained with no resources to make such noise, and with a smaller group. So we've been there for a long time, and now it's being noticed much more, and it's going to be noticed even more when Ethereum moves to proof of stake, no? Because it's going to leave the space empty for ETC to occupy. So that's one reason, I think, or a very big reason why people in high places are not hopping on to ETC. But when they start to learn and they understand the layers, understand the components of what is the function of each component, and the function of proof of work, the function of proof of stake, channels, etc., wallets, and how everything works, they're going to very quickly realize. Like I said, I talk to these multinationals, and they're still in this idea that they can create their own private blockchain and somehow forget about Bitcoin and forget about Ethereum and forget about Ethereum Classic, and they can win the race creating their private systems. No, of course it's not gonna work. So when they start to see the real industry and the real contrasts between scalability and security and all those things, then they're going to start building their applications, putting the parts of their applications that go with high security in ETC and Bitcoin, putting the parts of their applications that go with scalability on Ethereum and Cardano maybe, and then using wallets and stuff like that. So I think that it's a matter of time for the adoption to come, no, and the knowledge.
All right. One more thing that Moshango had responded about the 50% attacks. Said, okay, so just in case you don't know, there have been attempts since after August 2020, okay, for another 50% attack. It hasn't happened. That's why it didn't make the news, right? And there hasn't been a successful attempt yet since, MES and co were implemented. So some things are blocking the attacks, and it's been a whole year. You think those people don't want to come and make a quick $5 million again? They've been trying. It's just not working this time. So you can stay calm. It's feasible to stay calm at this point about the attacks. Yeah. All right. Any last words, Peter?
No, just everyone really needs to subscribe to Patient Money, Ether Plan, even Savage Profits, Financial Journey, and of course, go to Peter Cordy as well, and check out everyone's social media and websites.
All right. Thank you all for being here. Do well to subscribe, like the video. We'll be coming up again with the next edition. Hopefully we have the whole team here, like 5-6 people. And I'll see you all. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.